Okay, let's get started. First of all, Merry Christmas, everybody. This is the payroll, Calgary year in training. On page 3, you have the table of contents to help you find each subject. On page 5, this is our holiday schedule for OME-RESA. We will be closed December 24th through the 26th. That's Wednesday through Friday. And then December 31st and the 1st of January, which is a Wednesday and Thursday, and then we'll be back to the office full time on the 2nd. Now, I ask that you plan accordingly because the days we are open over those 2 weeks for the holiday, someone may be out. So, is somebody have their thing not muted? So if you're not muted on Zoom, would you please make sure you mute yourself? Yeah. It was Lori. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Again, just schedule accordingly for those weeks that we're off for the holidays. On page 6 is our pre-closeout checklist. These are things that you can be working on now. The first thing I suggest is verify the social security numbers using the DSO. This is a very, very easy thing to do, and I'm going to show you real quick. I'm going to show you how easy it is. Okay. If you log in again. Right. So you would go to reports, scroll all the way down to W-2 state verification. And to create a submission file, that's it. There's no parameters. You would just click this and upload this to the BSO. So you want to process premiums for life insurance over $50,000. This is usually the superintendent that the board pays for a life insurance policy over $50,000. On page 11, there's more descriptions on how to take care of that. You will have to refer to the IRS publication B, 15B, for that chart. You want to process non-cash payments and or adjustments for employee reimbursement paid through USAS. So if there's anything you reimburse an employee on USAS other than reimbursements, maybe mileage and such, you could put that on their W-2s. Now, number 4 through we'll go 8. These are mainly for new payroll items. So 4 is verify OSDI, 4-digit code and the abbreviation. You're probably pretty good unless you had to add a new one for this year in 2025. And 5, verify city tax payroll item configuration records, abbreviation, entity codes, employee city tax payroll items. Again, that's if you added a new city. Verify other states. 7, verify that your HSA payroll item configuration has a annuity type of other. That's very important, but that's only if you started that this year that you have to worry about it. 8, verify W-2 configuration. That if there's been a lot of moving around with treasurers and such, to make sure that you verify this, it's very important. Or if you've moved your administration building, you need to go in and make sure that that address is correct. Number 9, if you have sick, third-party sick or disability pay, you have a company vehicle that you have to process adjustments for. Same thing with tuition reimbursements. Did you process a final payment for a deceased employee this year? There are certain steps you need to make sure you take to report their earnings and the money that was paid out to their estate or beneficiary, whichever applies. And then 13, generate your W-2 report, but errors only. Let's just see if you have any errors right now that you need to start working on, so you're not like feeling rushed and flustered at the end of the month. no one really has adoption and dependent care adjustments. So I'm not putting it on the checklist, but I do still have the information at the back of the book if it's something new for you this year. Okay. I'm gonna go through the checklist when we're done with the book. Okay. We're going to take that. I'm sorry, 11. And I showed you this part already, this W-2 verification, how to get there. I highly suggest this, and I'll tell you why. First of all, I had to request the privileges to upload wages, but do the verification or something else. If Missy's the treasurer, I don't normally upload that kind of stuff. But for this purpose, as the payroll clerk here, I wanted to be able to do this. So I think I requested like on a Tuesday, a Monday or Tuesday. And by Monday the next week, Missy had received a letter with my verification codes. And there were 3 verification codes because there was 3 different things I requested. So I had to plug those both in. So if you don't have a BSO account with those privileges as a payroll person, maybe speak to your treasurer to see if you could get that set up if you don't already. So once you log in, and I went in, I uploaded on Monday, the next morning, it was done. I got a report. I uploaded it into the redesign. And this is what it looks like. Very easy. Report title. Now the report format threw me off because when you do that drop down, it's either PDF or Excel, but the file was a TXT. So I just took a shot in the dark and I tried the Excel and it worked for me. So don't panic that the extension doesn't match, okay? Because it does work. You sort it any way you want. Choose the file that you downloaded, and so you can do your report if there's any issues. I did have an issue on a new person, and I don't know how this was done. I don't know if it's because I use LastPass. If any of you use any of those password vault type things that fill in your username and password automatically, when I added a new employee, it put my name as the legal name. So the verification came back, so security number doesn't match the name because it had Melissa Crossley. So thank goodness I did do this for this year. I did something right finally. All I did was fix that, removed that, created another submission that same day, uploaded again the next morning. I did the report was there for the result, and I'm all clear now. So that's why I highly suggest you use this. Because we have had in the past where maybe there's a couple employees with the same last name, you go in to change their legal name and you're on the wrong one. You know, the wrong Smith or Jones or something like that. So I highly suggest this, and it comes back pretty quick. So you can fix that. So if you can get that done now, that would be great. So this is a sample report. It's going to show mine all now show verified. But I did get this area here. Name does not match. DOB not checked. Okay. So handling life insurance over $50,000. Again, this is most likely your superintendent, maybe a treasurer or assistant superintendent. It's not very common for the lower people to have it, if you will. So if you're able to get this in before your last payroll, we highly suggest you get this in, because if you don't, you're going to have to make adjustment, and you would much rather let the system do all the calculations for taxes, Medicare, all the things that you would be responsible for. Because if you don't do that and it's after the next pay, you have to do these adjustments, but not only do you have to do the adjustments, you are going to have to pay the Medicare that's due on that now. So if you don't have another payroll to get that Medicare from the employee, the board's going to have to pick it up. Okay, more times than not, though, the person who has this life insurance policy or $50,000 has full pickup on their Medicare. So, but by some chance, if they don't, you're gonna have to pay it for them and get it back any way you want. Either take it out of their next pay or you just forfeit it. So for more documentation, it is in our knowledge book, topic 5.2, and here's the link to the SSDT documentation on life insurance. How many of you are familiar with our knowledge book? With everybody basically? Okay. You better be. Let me show you, for those who don't, what it kind of looks like. Click on it. I see it getting wrong. This is, it looks a little different because this is mine, and I have privileges to edit and add chapters. Anything in red that you see, you won't see, just the things in blue. But here is our knowledge book, and this is what we refer to back to you in a lot of stuff. So here's mainly the stuff that I will be telling you is in our knowledge book. Anything under the fiscal year end, calendar year, and procedure documentation, including that IRS publication 15B that you will use for your life insurance. Non-cash benefits, again, you want to try to run this through a payroll. This could be anything from uniforms. We used to get shirts. You get so much money to buy our shirts, so that went on our paychecks with NC3 payments, non-cash payments to be taxed appropriately. Again, if you miss this on a payroll, you're going to have to do adjustments in that Medicare code. Now, this is where the Medicare would really bite you. If it's all your maintenance staff or bus drivers you bought shirts for that you need to put this on, you're going to have to pay all their Medicare up front and then recover it any way you see fit. Again, topic in the knowledge book and the documentation to the SSDT information. And this is that reimbursable employee expenses. I'm not going to go deep into it because there's so many different scenarios that you can do, and you would look at the documentation or the topic in the knowledge book, and it will tell you the different scenarios that might apply to your district. Okay, this is just the information on the OSDI, if it's new here for you. Verifying the city tax payroll item records. There needs to be an entity code in there, whether or not it's CPA or RETA. Okay, it will not process otherwise. So we had one person who was new Philly. When I did their W-2s, the entity code was a payroll item code number. They don't care. It just, something has to be in that field. Okay. Here's some links to RETA tax tables and the CCA tax table. Knowledge book, they're in there as well. And the city rates for the Columbus, for the state of Ohio that aren't RETA or CCA. Page 16, verify tax records for employment or residence. Not probably 99% of the time it's going to be employment. But I did find a link for RETA, the workplace versus the residence. What's the difference? So we have an employee who works from home for us, and I set up his tax, Z-tax, because he is in Youngstown. And when the lady was helping me make sure I did it correctly, she told me that his would be employment. Even though he's working out of his home, it's employment. And I thought it was kind of weird, but if she tells me employment, it's going to be employment. Okay. If you have questions, for none of these really apply to you, but people who travel, maybe employees who travel around, you can call this number and they can help you decide on how to set that up. Again, if you have a new state, which probably none of you do, you want to verify that information. On the HSA, if you set one up this year, the annuity type has to be other. You want to verify that? Now, here's where we're talking about the W-2 configuration. So let me pull that. I'm gonna go to report, I'm sorry, only treasurers can do this. Configuration, all the way down here bottom. There's a new box on this W-2 configuration to enable W-2 digital delivery. Now, we did discuss this, I think, we had a Zoom meeting, did we not, Misty, about this?
I'm
Or
sorry.
no? W-2 digital delivery. No, the Zoom.
Yeah, we did have a Zoom meeting on different ways to process your W.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you didn't, if you didn't have attend or missed it or want to recap, if you have ESS, you can set it up that your employees receive their W-2s digitally. Okay, however, there's a couple steps, very easy to do. You have to check this box to enable. And you have to go into ESS and also mark it for digital delivery. And the first time that an employee logs in, once you set this up, it's gonna pop up. Do you accept or decline a digital W-2? They won't be able to do anything unless they do one or the other, okay? If someone says, I'm trying to sign, it won't let me sign, one of two things could be happening. If they have a middle initial by the signature, you have to type exactly what's there. Not Melissa Crosley, Melissa S. Crosley. So you have to make sure that. The other thing we found, we have a district, there was a space after the first name on the employee record. And I understand how that can happen. You're typing, you're used to hitting that space bar and you put a space in that field. Well, that space has to be on the field where you sign in ESS too. Or you go into the employee screen and take out the space, which is what I would recommend to do because we don't know what else moving forward that could affect. Let's clean it up now. If you do not have ESS, we can set you up in an ESS. You don't have to use it for leads. You can use it for just W-2 digital delivery, and they can see their pay slips too. And there is a user role specifically for you W-2 pay slip limit. Okay, we've already set up 2 districts. There's no cost for this if you don't have it. ESS, it's free, so it's an option if you don't have ESS. You want to go ahead.
Sorry to interject, but if you have somebody saying that they can't do their W-2 and you do use ESS, for some reason they can't find it, they can't see it, you do not want to change that person to W-2 only. If you give somebody access, well, if we change their access to W-2 only, it will wipe out any other access that they have.
You mean if they already have ESS?
Yeah, if
Okay.
you already have ESS, you don't want to change.
A user can see it. What she's saying is a user can see this in ESS as well. Okay, I set it up like as people leave OME-RESA, I set them up with only that role, so they can't try to enter or leave. Not that they would, but it doesn't cause any issues on either side for us. So thank you, Lori, for that. I appreciate that. So do you want to go in and fill all this? Now, we did find out your submitter EIN is obvious, but your submitter user ID is different. Missy and I weren't sure how that worked. She has a different user ID than I have for the BSO. So we believe whoever's submitting this, it has to be their user ID. And I think that's probably why they do that. They want to know who is uploading like wages for W-2s or what have you. So keep that in mind that if you have a different user ID, you want to make sure it matches what's in here. Okay. Any questions on that before we move on? Chat. And this is everything we just went over in a screenshot. The other thing, a footnote here is the state information for your submissions is coming from 4 organizations. And I believe it's only treasurer who can access the 4 organizations. Do you want to verify, again, if you've moved, a new treasurer, but that's where your state ID comes from when you're submitting creating your submission files. Third-party sick disability, this is all based on that vendor sending you the information for this. You want to hope and pray that you get the non-taxable third-party sick pay, because there's, other than just putting it on the federal tax record, the third-party pay type, that's all you have to do, whereas above, you have to do sick pay to adjust the total and applicable gross on the federal, state, city of honored OSDI Medicare records accordingly, okay? So again, if you have to do adjustments for taxable, the Medicare has to be paid now. Okay, however you get that money back, an employee is up to you. The board might want to eat it, depending on the amount. Company vehicles, the vehicle lease adjustment is, will automatically update the total gross and applicable gross of the federal, the Ohio. But you only need to do the adjustment on the federal record. It knows to go in and update the state for you. And keep in mind that when you are running your W-2s, that this is an automatic pull in for box 14. So if you have a list of things that if someone has a company vehicle, it's going to be the first thing. So they only get 2 extra after that. Okay. Now, these adjustments can impact your W-2 report. So if you don't balance, it's gonna, if the gross amount don't balance, this is why. Okay. Fringe benefit, does anybody have tuition reimbursement? Have they paid out tuition reimbursement this year? Okay, you have, okay, so anything you've reimbursed up to over $5,250 has to have an adjustment on their federal record as a fringe benefit. So when you save that, the total and gross bill will be updated on the federal and state payroll items. Deceased employee, I'm not gonna read through all of this because there is a lot. It is in our knowledge book. And here are all the steps that you have to take in this order. I'm sorry, Alright. So information, when you do this, it can impact your W-2 report, your quarter report. So keep in mind that when you're balancing, this can affect. Alright. So the biggest mistake we find on people with the deceased employees, they forget to go back in and change the W-2 legal name back to the employee's name, because it will cause a fatal error if you do not do that. Here's a link to the SSDT documentation as well. Now, I'm going to pause here for a minute. A lot of this stuff is in our knowledge book, but I would suggest you go to the SSDT's documentation because they update there often. So, you know, especially the newest thing with, and I'm not going to go into this subject right now, but the W-2, the overtime, they've been updating that documentation daily, sometimes more than once a day. So not that everything else is going to be like that, but just so you know, they can update either the wording, they've changed something. To keep that in mind, if you want to go anywhere, I would suggest you go to the documentation, but it is in our knowledge book as well. Employer health care coverages. I think everybody here runs the employer share of health insurance through payroll. Is that true? Okay. That's good. Because otherwise you'd have to mass load a spreadsheet for the W-2s to do that. And let's get past that. So for employees who paid out of pocket, you would want to go in and update their federal record for health insurance. So if someone's out on maternity leave and they're not getting paid, and they bring you the money for their share of the insurance, you want to go in when they're back, and they're back to paying through their payroll, and put the total in here for health care insurance, health coverage, not really first time insurance. Okay, because this needs to go on, their W-2, because that money wasn't sheltered. So you want to put that in there. Okay. When you're doing this, life, dental, vision, nor HSA is included in that. It's only medical. If you have cafeteria plans, if you have everything wrapped in one, then the whole total will go on. Now, city taxes, whether or not it comes out, if they take their tax out or not, is all dependent on the payroll under configuration screen. If you have this box checked. Okay. Again, W-2 balancing, I'm not gonna go through every one of these things. The earnings register is still considered the payroll Bible. That is based on all the checks that you have issued to employees or have voided. It will include everything. If you're looking for any issues when you balance. What would cause my W-2 not to balance would be any of the adjustments that we went over. So we didn't go over dependent, but fringe benefits, Medicare pickup amounts, third party use of company vehicle, employee expense reimbursements paid through USAS, and manual updates. Okay. There is a worksheet, a W-2 worksheet in our knowledge book, the old one. I don't even use it. I have an Excel sheet, so it adds up for me. Now, if your district pays the employee share of Medicare for anyone, the Medicare tax amount paid on their behalf is added to the total gross and taxable gross on the federal, Ohio, and OSDI records. So the W-2 reports will be higher. Okay, so keep that information in line when you're balancing. So when I told you to run that W-2 report now with only errors, this is what the screen looks like. You'll select report the right year. This is last year's picture. And then check this box, report employees with errors only. Let's get them cleaned up. Let's make sure we're good to go. It'll make your life easier at the end of the month. I'm not going to read through all the errors and warnings that you could possibly get, but here they're listed. So if you do have them, you can read what is going on and how you can fix it. If you still have issues, don't hesitate to put a ticket in to OME-RESA, staff at OME-RESA. Got that? And okay, so the report and submissions now. So is everybody printing their own W-2s, or do you have a third party that's printing them for you? You're printing your
You guys
own?
aren't printing them anymore?
Way to stir the pot there, Bobby.
How did you jump up? Wasn't it missing?
Yes, there would be. So Bobby's been kicked out of the meeting. Okay, there's a couple things on, first of all, when you do this, you go through your submissions, get a screenshot before you hit generate. And I'll tell you why later. I just want you to see what you selected when you generated. So at this point, I'm going to have, who wants to go first?
Let Lori go first.
Okay. Lori?
And then we can get into the W-2.
Yes.
Mess. Wow.
Okay.
You sent this out, correct?
I did, hon.
Okay.
I sent all three of those in one email, so everything would be exact.
Okay. Missy had sent out previously, either concerning W-2. For those of you who don't have a printing option, Brian, you can, like she said, you can do the W-2, your ESS. If you don't have it, does everyone in this have ESS? Everyone? No. Okay, so we've had a couple of districts that did not, they don't utilize our ESS. And we converted them to ESS specifically for the printing of W-2s digitally. You can set up ESS and not use anything other than that. And what it does is when you end out your payroll and switch your W-2s over, you send them into ESS, and your employees can print their own W-2 themselves if they want, or just use the digital format of it. When you do that, everyone has to have an account in ESS and has to sign that acknowledgement that Missy talked about. We set it up in your payroll that you are going to use digital delivery, and then we set it up in ESS that you're doing digital delivery as well. So all the employees would get added in ESS, and they would all have to log into ESS and create their account, which is simple. And at that point, they'd be able to get you can put their W-2 out there and they can get it themselves. It's simple. It seems like, oh no, another thing to do, but it is very easy. And we've done it for a couple of districts that do not use ESS current.
If you had stubborn ones, is there still a way for us to print them for them?
Yes, not everyone has to accept that digitally, and when that happens, if somebody they have to log into ESS so that they can accept or deny. If you have those who denied, the system will tell you who has denied, and you have to print them physically. What's nice about the ESS system is you also have to provide instructions that are on the back of the W-2s. When you print them, you have to provide those instructions to them. And what ESS does is it also provides the instructions for the employee. So you don't have to print your W-2s to form paper like you used to. You can print them to regular paper, and you can also print the instructions to regular paper as well. Now, if somebody were to come in and, they signed it and said they did not want to accept a W-2 digitally, and they changed their mind. They're like, oh, okay, I'll do it. Then they can go into ESS and they can change that setting themselves. So the employee has the flexibility of going back and forth as to whether it's digital or not.
So if they don't go in, like our employees that retired or left, they're not going to ESH or ESS anymore, so they won't see that. It'll automatically default print. Is that correct?
Yes, it
Okay.
does. This is the automatic default. Now, anyone who leaves your district or has left your district, you can still contact them and set them up in ESS. So they can get their W-2 from the current year. And it will also put out any prior years. Yes, I would remove it to the file archives.
When an employee leaves, you still want them to have the ability to access their pay slips and their W-2s, okay? So what we would do would change their role in ESS just to pay slips and W-2s. So after they leave, Melissa gets a personal email address and changes that in ESS so they can log in with that personal email address, because we take away the OME-RESA email address. Then they can log in and all they can see is their past pay slips and their past W-2s.
I just sent out an email to our users who would get W-2s, not our users, our employees, our former employees who would get W-2s this year from us. I sent it out, I thought I carbon copied all the addresses, but I sent out an email to them telling them they have that option to go in, and they'll want to go in and decline or acknowledge. It's gonna ask you the first time you log in, with their personal email, so.
People need to do 8%. I still want to pay.
I think you kind of touched on it again already, but did you say, so if they don't go in and accept or decline, they'll default thing as a print?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Right here, the download IRS employee notification on the ESS side. Wait, don't have- Those are the instructions. So you can print the person's W-2 for them. And then print the instruction. So here's the deal, a lot of your stubborn people. Switzerland has a lot of stubborn people as well.
Automatically points at me.
They have a lot of stubborn people that not like electronic stuff at all. The thing about it is obviously digital is secure. It's in the hands of the employee. You don't have to mail, you don't have to print, you don't have to make sure you didn't give it to the wrong person. Because again, they control their user login into ESS. So it is a secure way to get the information. Now, those stubborn people are very hard to get past. So for those of you not utilizing ESS, this is a good time of year to start. And if you start now, and you might be able to grab those stubborn people and let them see, hey, listen, look, this is how easy it is. However, if you accept that you want it digitally, we can still print it for you. And if you don't own a printer or what have you, whatever excuse they come up with, then as a district, if you tell them, we'll print it for you, come in the office. You know, we'll provide it for you physically if you want. In that way, they have multiple options and they don't feel confined to only a digital output. Because they do, there are.
We have an employee here. He is our maintenance man, and he is not computer techie. I get that. I'm not computer techie, believe it or not. Anyway, so he came to me and he goes, I'll accept it, miss. He goes, but will you print it for me? Absolutely. So he said, yes, he'll get it digitally. He comes into the office, Melissa prints it out on a piece of paper and hand it. So if you can cut some kind of deal with them, say, just come in the office, I'll print it for you. You know what I mean? It's a piece of, you can print it on a piece of paper. You don't need a form. The system will let you print it on a piece of paper.
And it's legal to give them an outside of the sheet of their W-2.
As long as you give them the
provide
instructions.
Yeah.
The instructions are right there on your own ESS, so.
You said this is a good time of year to set it up. What's the turnaround time on that normally
Turnaround time on
like to set up ESS or is it?
Too
Obviously,
late
they
right
have
now.
return accounts that could be a lag on the, but
Yeah.
on
no,
our,
it-
how much does it take?
Really? Now, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't convert ESS. I didn't convert any of our districts to ESS. Bree did all that. Wait for me. For those of you who are on it, it's her fault. Anyway, I did two districts. The first district I did, it took me a few days to kind of like understand what that district needed to see. But again, when you're when you have that user set up as W-2 digital delivery only, that's all they can see. So setting that up, I had to like kind of play with the district, like, okay, I'm setting you up like an end user. I'll set you up the way they're going to see it. And we would test them, they get in and then, after that, then I'd reset your user access to an admin, because you're the one who's gonna be able to change things. And that district would go in and check it out, and they say, okay, I agree, all my people are in there, you know, and then what you do is the system will send out a mass email to everyone to set up their own password. And once they get the link, they set up their password and get in, and that's it.
Lori, I have a message on Zoom. It came directly to me. And it's Gwen Wagstaff, and she asked, how are people handling substitutes or part-time employees who are not in ESF? Well, there's two things you can do there. One, you could just print those for those substitutes or part-time people. Or two, you can have them create an account in ESS. If you give them the role of payslips and W-2s, all they're going to see is their payslips and their W-2s. And they may like that better because obviously if a substitute can log in and see their payslip as soon as payroll is complete. So that would be my suggestion, the two suggestions I would have. If any, you guys girls have any other different suggestion.
Yeah. How do you all feel about the substitute? Like, what is your opinion on putting substitute in the max access?
There's no charge for ESS. And there's no additional charge for ESS. Let's put it like that. So you can have as many accounts in there as possible.
Last year I printed over 700 W-2.
So see, I mean,
I would.
And your substitutes, again, can be in there by order district. And their notification can be whatever they could be like, employee that retired. They can be in there with their own personal email address, getting notified to their personal email. But their user is unique to your district.
and that email that we sent out has 3 different attachments. One is your choices on what you can do for printing W-2s. The second one is if you choose to do digital delivery, the checklist. And the third one is just an FAQ from the SSDT with little tips and tricks on using the ESS for digital delivery. So if you need, we can send that email out again, but it's all in one. There's 3 attachments in one email to give you all the information to make the best decision for your district.
But again, it's in their mind right now because it is, we do this in June or July. Participation seems like it would be a little less because I'm working, I don't really care about my taxes. I care about my.
Well,
But, the people aren't as apt or willing to do things. Any questions? Has anyone decided that they're gonna do digital delivery?
we have a couple districts that did convert to it.
What is your response then? You're shaking your head.
I mean, we
Edison
did
has
the
bus drivers.
acknowledgement, I've been looking through it, it's probably more printed than digital right now, but, I mean, like, our bus drivers or custodians, they're not front of us.
Right.
Which is the other thing, if you make it, the more accessible you make it to them, and easier on them, like your bus drivers, I mean, they can do it from their phone. I think that those kind of people, they're not people, so they really don't, they're intimidated. Have your phone and all that. But it's like in a staff meeting, something that you showed them.
Hot flash.
This is how easy it is. We have demos that, we can set up, you guys too, but it kind of helps them see that, oh, wow, all I have to do, because I don't know about you, but a lot of people don't need their federal W-2 or their state W-2 because they're doing everything electronically. So.
We had pretty good response at our district. I mean, we had like maybe about 30 employees that didn't accept the digital, so not bad.
Do you think that the ones who didn't accept were not accepting
For the,
fear of the electronic side or just because they accidentally clicked the wrong way?
Probably the fear of the electronic. We have, elder population at our district. So I think that's probably it. But our plan is to send them out on January 31st if we're mailing them. So
Right, all right.
Yeah.
So they won't get them quite early.
if they want to get them sooner, they will.
And that's a
Oh, no.
legitimate, you know, and especially if you make them available to everybody else electronically.
Yeah, and we did put in our communication, if you need it printed, come into our office, we'll print it, so.
The more often they have, the more comfort they feel.
Yeah.
Quicker they'll get it too, because as soon as you're done, it's posted out there.
Yeah.
They're gonna get it faster than those who are getting it printed.
well, wait, no, they all go out at the same time. There is an email that you will send in from ESS, but it's just real quick. Your W-2s are now available on ESS. It will only go to the people who are accepting the digital delivery. It won't go to the people who decline. That email.
Yeah, but
will
it's going, even though that's how you notify those people. Once they're notified, you know, they're all chit chatting. I found my tax refund and tax, and for the ones who are manual, getting them mail. Yeah.
Does it still put the W-2s out there if we don't turn this on? How it has in the
Oh,
past?
yes,
So that'll
there is
still
a
be out there.
step.
Yes.
There- Yeah,
And the paper people will still see them under their pay stub and
Yes.
W-2. right?
Yes.
They just won't
Yeah.
email them.
You can't block that.
Yeah, so if they did want to go in and put them up
Yes.
sooner, they could.
okay. All right. Thank you, Lori. I appreciate all that.
You did a great job.
We do it.
We should do more training. So, one thing I wanted to add on for you, was you asked about the turnaround time. It doesn't, I don't think, really take her long to do it, but at this time of year, you have very few people who are going into the ESS, you know, who's gonna do that for the holiday break, so that would defeat the purpose this year. But it doesn't mean we can't get you running for next year, you know, and tell them it's part, especially the new employees, it's part of, we need you to log in as part of your package to accept or decline. So that's something. Let's see. Yes.
So we put in place Frontline Central. Is there a file that we could pull down, and since all of our employees currently have Frontline Central accounts for recruiting and hiring, and we're getting ready to look at these ones as well. Is there a file we can upload into Frontline Central that goes in the employee personnel, electronic personnel file where they can see all of their documents?
There is a file that you can create in the payroll files to upload. I mean, like you could, there's a file that I have, we create for ESS. So it being a third party vendor, I don't know what their requirements are
I
yet.
realize there'd be.
Yeah, so other than ESS, and you can't log into payroll, so there is no way for, that I'm aware of, for a third party to get that file automatically.
No, I meant for us to download a file and
Oh,
upload our.
So in the payroll, yes, when I get to ESS, we'll see if that works.
Okay.
Because you do create a file that you have to move over to file archives. Well, is there a way to download that file
Yeah,
and where you can put it out there? We can try that. When
okay.
we get there, we'll
Okay.
look at that for you. So any more questions on the ESS portion? Let me see. Trying to see where that's. Where is that email at? Do you remember?
You can mass email, go down a little bit more, very bottom.
Yeah. And then you would type it up. You could save the template, and then when you're ready, you'll come in here and send the emails. And once you have the template in there, if you don't put a year in there, you can always use it every year. I'm all about doing things the easy way. Okay, so I'm gonna sign up there. So there we go. All right, so let's see. Okay, so the next thing I wanna bring up Erin, and she's gonna go over W-2 overtime stuff that we're learning. Now, keep in mind that we're learning this right along with you. It's brand new to us as well. So bear with us. If you have a question, we have a meeting with the SSDP next, is coming Wednesday. So if you have a question we've not answered, give it to us. We will try to get that information for you during our meeting. So here you are.
What page is that?
We don't have corresponding.
No, she
This
doesn't.
is- This is all something that just came out.
These
so
are
I'm
her
just kind of
notes too.
relaying to you the updates. We're gonna send some stuff out. So on November 5th, the IRS put out a guidance providing penalty relief for employers if you're not, if you're unable to get the overtime figures for 2025. Because they're not changing the W-2 form for this year. So you can put the qualified overtime in box 14 on the W-2 using the 001 federal tax payroll item. Box 14 is not reported to the IRS or Social Security. SSDP already added the new adjustment journal type called W-2 overtime. It'll show you.
This is for adjustment. And you put it on the 001 federal.
The adjustment journal can be added manually, or you can mass load. We tested the mass loading at work. This morning, actually, about 8:30, I had it scheduled to send an email out with the template you can use for the mass load, and the instructions for the formatting. Because I think I left first name, last name, just to help you if you have multiple with the employee ID. But then you delete those columns, how to format the 001, because you have to keep those leading zeros in there when you upload it. So like I said, those went out this morning, so you should have that email, the template, if you want to mass load that. Make sure you save it as a CSV when you upload it.
That's what we do, Erin.
Yeah, I just uploaded it as an Excel,
It's my
the
fault.
error portal is just, yeah. Hieroglyphics. So if you want to put the qualified overtime in box 14, you have to do that. That's the only way to get it in box 14, and it'll show up as QOT. They also added qualified overtime to the W-2 report. You run it.
I think I'll have to change first.
And you can leave all the date options marked. We did do that the other night.
Report, W-2. report.
Ensure that it-
Not leaving everything blank. You see right there, qualified overtime, based on that adjustment I just did. Okay,
For 2026, they'll have updates to the W-2 report and the forms that'll do the calculations for you. They didn't want to add those for 2025 because a lot of districts use MIS for overtime and blended, so it wouldn't be able to figure out what is overtime and what isn't. That was so weird. So they did add a new pay type for blended overtime. They just did all these releases on the 5th, so they're all new this week. And then she's gonna show you that.
When I pay overtime, it's already taxed. Right, but it's not taxable. No, it's not.
The half portion is no longer taxable.
The half portion, the half, it's only the half portion that is not taxable. It's not the whole rate, the whole overtime.
So you just put the halftime.
Yeah.
Half
So
amount in
to
there.
make $10 an hour, you're paying $15 an hour because it's overtime. Only the $5 an hour is the part that your adjustment needs to be. Because that is the amount that the employee will need to deduct from their gross payroll to get a lower gross for tax.
so when you do the adjustment would only be for that $5, not 15, just the half portion. That's what the adjustments do. But when you're working in 2026, and you put overtime, you put the whole $15, because the system's gonna go back and it's gonna calculate, okay, they get paid $10 an hour, now they're getting paid 15. I know that 5 is qualified overtime. So I know it's kind of weird, you have to put the full amount you're gonna pay them in payroll here. Right here, you put it, they're making $15 as overtime, is their overtime rate at time and a half? You would use $15 as the rate. To pay them, and the system will calculate what's not taxable.
For next year.
That's next year, 2026.
So for this year, the people that have paid overtime, I have to do a core adjustment.
For the half times that you pay them.
Okay.
I just, it's weird, and I didn't want you to get confused that we were talking about the same place, you know what I mean? The adjustments are the halftime only, and then in 2026, it may be, the whole rate will be put in here in the system figures.
So next year, we don't have to do any adjustment.
No
As long as
adjustment.
you're using the overtime and not.
Oh,
That's-
pay type has to be.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
pay time has
So I'm gonna say it again, really loud. From now on, if you're paying overtime, true overtime, over 40 hours, you have to use OT. You cannot use MIS or the system will not calculate it correctly.
You can, but if you do, you're gonna be doing.
You're gonna be hand doing adjustments.
Yes.
That's that. I have a question then.
Okay.
You would probably know the answer to that. If you use future instead of current for your payroll,
Uh-huh.
and you enter your attendance entries first, and you do it on the employee screen under attendance. As soon as you select OT for the payment type, it locks out the account code, the expenditure account code that it's gonna charge to. So now I have to go into future to actually change that. It's an extra step. Is there any way around that? If I select MIS, I can change that account code on the attendance entry screen on that employee screen.
Do you physically enter the attendance based on time sheet?
Yeah.
Okay. There is,
For my time sheet.
Okay.
Yeah.
and I think we started this before you left. There is a timesheet module in ESS.
But we're not using that.
Okay, but let me tell you why it's cool, okay? So we have a couple people who are on timesheet, like an intern. And I have them 2 weeks in arrears, so we have time, because it goes through that workflow process. You know, it needs approval, just like you really used to. Once I'm ready to start payroll, I download the timesheets for the payroll I'm working on. And before I upload it, I can go in and I add the description and I can change the rate if I wanted to. And then I import it through utilities. And I tell it, I want it to post to future, so it does the attendance and it goes out to future for me. But there's
if I
a
need
way
to
it counts.
change the expenditure code on there for that overtime. Maybe it's a bus driver that's running an athletic, trip. I need to charge that to my athletic bus drivers.
Right.
I need to manually make that adjustment. It's locking that out for me. If I use ESS, which our district is not going to be doing, because we have, 70 employees that do paper timesheets that don't have access to computers.
Okay.
And the district is not going to be buying computers for all of our custodians and our bus drivers and everybody else to enter their timesheet. So we're stuck in a paper world for the moment in time now. It's just very inconvenient when you use overtime to add that extra step to go back and forth to make sure it's charged to the correct expenditure account.
I think that would be a great enhancement.
You're gonna get an email.
That
What
works.
did it say?
I mean, so you
There's
have
no
that
other way around it
opportunity to
then?
cha- And so, yeah, because you have to, like you said, you have to go back to the future.
I'm
And
jumping
it's
back and
another-
forth
yeah.
and it adds an extra 2 hours, to my day.
Absolutely, I understand that, but I just wanted to see something real quick.
There's no quick thing.
There is, what's interesting, everything else on time sheet. Columns. But, like you said, you have too many, so.
Hey,
I'm sorry, I hijacked.
if you come to your world, welcome to my world.
Yeah.
My world has a pink sky. Could you create a job that says overtime custodial and put in that pig?
But they're not always charged to the same place based on what they're doing for that overtime. So I need that flexibility. I don't want to lock it in.
I get it.
Okay. So we'll put it in hand with the request. I'll ask Tori to write this down. She's my secretary. She's not gonna do these training. She's my secretary. So.
Thanks, Reggie. But I do have other extra roles set up, like when a bus driver's running after school activity, I've got a separate position, the compensation with payroll account set up just for that, so it's really easy. It's these people that do like 17 different jobs.
Okay.
I can name names. I get it.
All right, we're gonna get back on track now. No, you're fine.
So there's a new, they added the new pay type for blended overtime.
Oh, I was in there and I got out.
This will be used to process the halftime of the overtime to the employees who are paid on multiple positions that have different rates. So they have their blended overtime. That's good.
Now, can they start using it now or do they have to wait till 26?
Sounds like it's for 26. That's
Okay.
something I do have written down that somebody asked. I'm gonna check with SSDP next week when we have our meeting to see if we can do that now.
And clarify what you have a pay week that crosses the calendar year. We're paying in 26, but they earned it in 25.
If you didn't
I'm
pay it.
using, okay, goes by when I
If you
pay.
did not pay it, then it's
All
not
right,
available.
excellent.
Okay.
And they have a lot of really good examples and screenshots that go with how they're calculating blended overtime. So we're gonna send those out. And because they've updated that sheet 2 or 3 times, like she said, in the same day I was watching it, and they kept changing the examples and screenshots, but they are good. So we're gonna send those out.
Go ahead. Okay. All right.
Now you're gonna see this new box down here, this FLSA overtime. They added that. You can use that only if you have overtime or blended overtime in your pay type.
What is this?
Oh, that's for, it has to do with the Fair Labor Standards Act, which is like you pay time and a half, anytime, like anything over 40. It's not a new law, but apparently there's some overtimes that's what we were gonna get more clarification on, because you can only do it in the with current future pay. And that included and excluded, so we're gonna ask some more about that, because if you put excluded, it will not be included in the calculation for the overtime on the W-2. And that's about all, so I guess I think there's maybe just a few situations where that may
That
come
would
into
be
play.
what you paid overtime on like office personnel.
It says something about union, something overtime isn't.
It's not common.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask, because it didn't seem like excluded would be.
Very on probably included.
Yeah.
Like
So
someone
we'll
that-
get clarification on it.
It's someone
I think
that's working
all.
overtime. Where that comes in.
Okay, because that's what that Fair Labor Act, and it did say, that act is over time and a half work. Okay, so we'll get some more clarification on when you might do excluded, this as example. All right, now they added a new property field on position screen. Called overtime classification. It's either exempt or non-exempt, it's your options in that drop down. And that's gonna help with when it starts doing the calculations for you, for 2026. So you can add this to the grid, and you can mass load or mass change it to update that. So we're gonna send out instructions on both mass load and mass change for that.
Okay, is this the other thing on this?
Yes. That's it. The biggest takeaway they stressed was just stop using MIS. But again, just to help your calculations, to let the software do it for you. So,
And I did find out because we had someone last Friday's meeting. And she asked, when she does her overtime, they say someone works 30 hours, that's what their normal schedule is. For her hour 31 through 39, she uses MIS, and then she uses OT for 40 hours beyond. Either one is fine. You could use OT on the 31 through to 39. It does not affect anything. I asked the SSDT.
It's gonna change the rate.
just make sure if you use
Oh,
that,
yeah,
that it's
if
the
you
right
use
rate
it,
in
you'll
there.
have to be careful on the rate, because it automatically will change the rate. But, you weigh whether or not, I gotta remember how many hours do I already have with miscellaneous? Now I have to remember 40 to change it to OT. Just, I'm only giving you an option. You do what you're comfortable with. Either one works. That's all I wanted to tell you, so. I'm in the, our documentation, just to go on with hers. If you go to payroll, future payroll, you can see the blended overtime here, and it gives you an example and stuff like that. So I just want to let you know there is some information out there. They are updating it fairly often. So, but I wanted to let you know that it is there. Okay.
Somebody asked last week about when people start asking you when you're figuring out the calculations for their overtime. They asked about reports. If they're, what reports might help you to figure out the overtime.
So I sent out an email earlier this week that had a JSON attached to it. And what was on that JSON was how to use the report to see the object code 144. Who did you use 144 to pay overtime to? That's classified, and it's mainly classified as your overtime people. You have to put a date range, which would be the year for 25, 1/1 to 12/31. And it will, I believe, the pay type blank. And then I run it based on 144, the object code, and it will tell you everybody who was paid out of 144 the whole year. That might help you try to figure out your adjustments, who you need to look to for that half time to load the adjustment for.
Which report was it again?
I sent it out in an email to JSON. Did you get an email from me, like Tuesday-ish, maybe Wednesday? Okay, if you didn't get it, send a ticket. Oh, you got it? Okay, but if, for those who may not have received it, if you didn't receive it, send a ticket to F staff, will attach the JSON. And just remember, a JSON cannot be open. Don't try to open it. I'll just give you a quick tutorial on that one for some people.
And I did send out a follow-up email on the options you should be selecting when you load the JSON and run the report, and directions on how to load the JSON.
Okay, so when you get that JSON, just download it, do not open it. You go to reports, report manager, and you'll import it. Click on, there it goes. You import, you'll find the file, you'll open. And then, wait a minute, I do have this, so let me. And so when I imported the JSON, this is what it looks like. You can change the report name so you can find it easier. That's up to you, and then you'll save it. And there it is, right at the top. Now, if you download it, make sure this little icon here, this is where you share it with people. You're the only one who can see this report until you come in. We're admin, we should be able to see it, but I will go ahead and check it. Group manager is your treasurer, and standard usually the staff in the treasurer's office. And that means anybody with those privileges can also use that report. No, because I don't have anybody. I'm in demo. I'm in my demo. Okay. Oops, my battery's running low. I have to hurry up. Okay. So we're back to the printing of the W-2s. Lori went over that with you, your options for that. Here are the different fields that you will make your selections on. Again, in box 14 is your W-2 overtime. I want to tell you, this is something, well, she was thing 1 and I was thing 2 on Monday when they made this available. I couldn't find this in the drop down for box 14. We were going nuts. I couldn't find it. Come to find out, it's an automatic. So you remember how I told you leased vehicles are an automatic? You know how it automatically pulls into box 14? It's not in the, that should do. It's not in the drop down for box 14. me show you. So reports, W-2 reports, report. So when you come down here, select payroll items for box 14, lease vehicle wasn't in here. Because it's an automatic. If it finds an adjustment done for that, it's gonna automatically pull it in first before anything else you select. The overtime is the same exact way. You will not see it from this drop down. It's an automatic. The system will see the adjustment and it will automatically pull it in, put it in box 14 for the qualified overtime.
Are we still limited to just 4 on that?
Yeah, you still have a limit at maximum of 3.
Okay.
So if you have a vehicle lease and overtime, those are gonna be your first 2. So you make sure you would add them in the order you want them to be used. So if you want STRS to go in there first, you want that next, you do like the first one. But if you put dues first, but you prefer STRS, dues is gonna go and take that last spot. It's how you have it ordered in that drop down, okay?
Do you want to plug this?
Yeah, 'cause I don't think.
Yeah, I don't have a plug.
I think this is working. USB.
It is.
Okay, it's working. Thank you, Bob.
Do you need it?
No, I'm good. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Okay.
All right. So I told you about that.
Real quick, I just wanted to mention at the treasurers meeting last week, we had a treasurer ask, do you have to put that overtime amount on the W-2? He doesn't have to go on the W-2. He was thinking about just handing them something on their school district letterhead with the amount of the overtime. Yeah, you can do that if you want. That's up to you, whatever's easier for you. But we have the spreadsheet that we've sent out, Aaron sent out. You just fill in that overtime and load it, and then it will appear on the W-2 for you. You do have to provide them with the amount of the overtime. How you provide that is up to you. I personally think it would just be easier to have it on the W-2, but for some reason, this treasurer felt it would be better just to put that on a letterhead from the district with the amount. So that's up to you.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so again, this is for the mailable. Is anybody doing the mailable, that default thing that we used to do for you? You are? Okay, you'll be printing from USPS. These will be your instructions, okay? And we're on page 33. So again, I want you to take a screenshot of what you selected here, because it's important for later on. So once you generate, you'll see an informational message that will be displayed, that the forms are generated and can be found in the W-2 form output file view. Okay. And off to the side, you'll see this, and they'll be there when you see completed. Page. Okay, that's what I was going to get a screenshot. And then when you go to the output file, this is how you download the file to print. When you're done printing, if everything looks good, no issues, then you want to submit, I'm sorry, when you're printing, submit the PDF file to your printer, this actual size. We found that out the hard way when we were testing. To verify the number of forms printed matches the number listed on W-2 form submissions where it says total number of physical W-2 forms to be printed. At the bottom of your payroll reports now, in the lower corner, left-hand corner, it will tell you how many physical forms you're gonna have and how many electronic digital ones you're gonna have. So it will help you, to know how many you should have of each thing. Once you successfully printed the zip file with no issues, no mistakes found, you will go back to the W-2 form output file and you will click on this icon to archive this file. Now, these are your mailable ones. So we're going to put that in the archive. And then you'll receive this message saying it can be found under 2024 calendar year reports. And that's on the first tab. Okay, so when you go into your archives, payroll, I filtered, now these are last year's, and I apologize, but 2025, I just wrote in CAL and there, you would click on that, and there they are. Now, I would hold off archiving them until you make sure there's no problems, okay? Because you can go back in, oh my gosh, I missed something. You have the ability to go in and delete it. and redo it again. So that's why I want you to wait. If you had already sent it and then found a mistake, just send a ticket to ask staff. We have the ability to go in and go into your file archives and delete that for you. Okay, to be very clear what you're asking us to do. Okay, is anybody using a third party, did they say to print? Okay. If you're not, I'm just gonna, no one's doing, I'm just gonna bypass that. The rest of these files, pages are just how to do print file for the employer. For the, that's W-2s, city. And then now we're down to submission files, how to go in there and do the submission files. Now, we did have a user who brought this to my attention last week. For the federal, it says you need to compress the zip file. But when we get to state, if for Ohio, it doesn't say that. Now, I'm perfectly honest, whatever the SSD told us in our training is what I put in this. So they had to right click to send this to compress the file. But Ohio doesn't have that line in there. So just be careful and pay attention. Maybe SSDT accidentally omitted, maybe you don't need to do it anymore. So I apologize. I'm going by what the SSDT is telling us. Okay. So after you create your submission files, you will find them in your file archives again. Again, under calendar year reports. Okay, so once you're done with federal, we suggest you upload it to the VSO and you run it through AccuWage. Make sure everything is correct. After it's tested, it comes back clean, no errors, then you're gonna upload it for real, so to speak, this time. New thing obviously now is you can create your own W-2 C if you need to, and there's a checklist in the knowledge book for you to follow on how to do that. Pardon? Yeah. Yeah, that's just the mail. I'm not the other stuff yet. Okay, state of Ohio tax submission file. This is the one I was just saying about the zip file. It doesn't tell you to zip. You may need to. If it doesn't already zip itself, you may have to zip it. So if you want to make a note, you may need to zip this file. SSDT didn't have it in our training, so that's why it's not in yours. And basically, it's the same thing to run through AccuWage and they're not loaded. Here's PA and West Virginia, how to create those files. And in the state of West Virginia, if you have 25 or more, it's mandatory for electronic. In Pennsylvania, you only need to do 10 or more to have to file electronically. The only difference basically between their screens is West Virginia has the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth, and total. So you get to put the amounts that you, when you did your quarter ends submission. And these are the files that you should see in your file archives. This is Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. And the state's always right there where you can see. Here's the links to, I believe they're still valid to upload them. So there was an issue in last year for West Virginia that there was an error. PA has changed.
It's called My Path now.
Okay, I appreciate it. My path instead of my taxes.
Yeah, no, that's West Virginia's is fine. PA's is not the e-ties anymore.
It's just my path.
It's called My Path. You want me to send you the
Would you
link?
send me?
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. There was an issue last year with W-2s for West Virginia. You get an error because one field was either blank or no, it had a Q and it had to be blank. They have resolved that issue. SSDT shouldn't get an error for West Virginia. So here's how to create your RETA or CCA submission. You have CCA, right? For some reason, I think has it. Okay, but here are the steps for RETA and CCA. In the files, the output files. And then for any non-RETA or CCA city submissions. Here's where you can go and create those. And then you can upload them to the appropriate city or print them out and mail them, whatever the city requires of you. Any cities with the same entity code, when you see the drop down for city, they will be together. Like it will say 003, 006, because they both have the goods by entity code. Now, this is important and it's mandatory for everybody now. Okay, even if you don't have ESS. You need to create a W-2 PDF file for ESS. And this is what, you had asked about with your, what was it called? ASOP? Do you have one?
ASOP.
Kelly, the ASOP, was it, which one were you asking me for about? Frontline. This is the file I was talking about to see if it works, because this is what we're using for ESS. See if this PDF file works. We'll try to work with them as best as we can. At this time, you're pretty busy for it. If you can do it, that would be great. Okay, so the following selections must match the selections you made for the W-2 mailable forms on page 32. Remember that screenshot I told you to get? That way you have it, you know what to put into each field here. It just makes your life a little easier. Now, the reason why I want you to do this, even if you don't have ESS, if you decide to go to ESS, they pull the W-2s from this, the archives for the W-2s. Well, you're not saving those files to the archives. They're only going to see the year that you started. This way, they're there. They might be able to see the past W-2s as well, if that makes any sense. Okay, so at the bottom, you'll schedule a job. You just want to schedule it. If you want to do it at night when no one's working, that's fine. Or you just schedule it 5 minutes from your current time. And then you'll go to job schedule and verify the job is listed. Now, the only person who can see this, there's two people, the person who created the job and the treasurer. We've given them the view option that they can see whether or not that job's there. And you can see here where mine completed. Okay, so once your job is completed, verify they've been copied to the file archive by go to utilities, file archive, and W-2 archive. Okay.
If the treasurer wanted to, get permission for someone else to do that.
Yeah, they can do that.
Do that. What do we need to choose?
You see, admin jobs.
Admin jobs. And all they need to say is, can you give whoever,
Add this
this person, the ability to see the report bundles? If they already have an existing account, all it needs is an email. It doesn't need a form.
Okay. And you will only be able to view, you won't be able to do anything, so. But at least you can see if it was done. Okay, so now this is just some follow-up stuff that on page 45, CRDC report, you can run that. It's not a bad idea. And then the next 2 pages are your pages for adult independent care, if that's new to you this year. And then documentation, how to get it on the last page. Now, don't think you're done. No, no, close your eyes. I don't want you to get dizzy. Okay. You can tell I'm doing it. Okay, so let's go back down to that checklist. Page 7. Thank you, Grace. You made my life easy. Okay. So I don't need to tell you basically the first couple. Make sure all your payroll, supplemental payrolls, payroll item refunds, outstanding payroll, everything has been crossed. Okay, we'll make sure everything's done. You're gonna balance your month in like you normally do. If you don't have a checklist, the SSDC has a generic one out there on their website. Yeah, right. You're gonna do your quarter, but you're gonna first start with the JFS report. Balance that, file that, and when you submit it, you will select ICESA as the file type. Now you're gonna balance your quarter report. You've done this before. You're making a generic quarter end checklist. And then complete and file required quarter submission. So print and save your employee master report. This is optional. A copy will be created when the calendar year is closed, and it will be out on your archives, in your file archives. Same thing with employee earnings register report. You might want to run that if not, it's out there on your, in your archives. I run my own because I want it my way, okay? Just like the song, My Way. Number 8, very important, run the OPSI report now. It is required. Once you close this, your month and the posting period, it will not be right if you try to run it. Run your OPSI. If you have a union, the OPSI, for OPSI. Okay, run that report again, that W-2 report for errors only to make sure nothing's popped up between now and then. At least you know if an error pops out, you know it's from between these couple of weeks. That helps you. Once it's error-free, you'll go ahead and create all your print files, your submission file for W-2. You'll file them. For those of you who have that, who's pressed for time and need to begin a January payroll before they've completed their W-2 processing. And what I mean by W-2 processing is the forms and your submission file, not balancing, just the forms, because you can't make any corrections and have it show up. You can leave the December posting period open. It does not have to be current to do it for the W-2 processing. Go to core posting period and change it. Usually the treasurer's the only person who can change the posting period unless you were given that privilege. Okay. You might have to create it if you haven't already, January 2026. And you can open it and you want to make it current and then process your first January payroll. Once you've done that, come back and finish with the processing of your W-2s, the reports, not the reports, the submission files and the forms. Run the year-to-date report for all employees, pay groups, and job status is suggested. I would highly suggest it because something I found on that report that you probably are more aware of than I am is how many of you usually run this and look at this? Does anybody run this report? Yes. Okay. Well, on this report, when you run this, and mine's going to be very short. I hate that you have to save every single report. Okay. You see here? Okay, the accrued wages, I was paid $16.12. Oh. And then there's other ones that it shows all the code. It will show your overtime, OT, it will show MIS, it will show REG, and it will break it down how much you pay for each pay type. And then over here, you can see how this is a pay per period, a daily rate is right here. So you can see an hourly rate and kind of look at those and think, okay, I need to go in and check this employee. And the reason why I suggest this is what if somebody worked overtime once or twice last January? Are you going to remember to go in and check their overtime? I know I won't because I can't remember what I had for dinner last night. So I would suggest maybe just glancing at this, just looking for OT and see just to help. Either that or that JSON that might help. It's just an idea. Any tool you can use would be very helpful.
Again, this year's going to be the hard year because they put this law in effect mid-year. They don't realize what we have to go through to gather this information. They really don't care. Next year, hopefully the systems can work for us. So this year, gathering the overtime amount is going to be a little more challenging, but it's just one time we can get through this, then hopefully next year things will be better.
So we could run that actually today.
Yeah,
and look at-
you could run it now.
Okay.
Yeah, you could. And like I said, at least it can show you who did I use that OT time on or even miss. A lot of people use miss completely for all overtime. So, yeah, I had suggested long ago when I did payroll training, when we were doing the conversions, that if you're paying on, even if it's a non-contract, well, mainly when it's a non-contract, I have a, person who subs. Their position is sub. So when I pay them, the pay type should be REG. Because that's the job. They're doing that job. Anytime you use miscellaneous, if you're using that position to pay something else. Okay, so if you start doing that on subs, that are doing their job, I'm only using them as an example. When you run a report like this, the REG is not in that MIS. Anything that's MIS or OT is overtime. It's just a thought. Okay, let's see. That was that. Okay, create that W-2 PDF file for ESS. And if you haven't already done so, oh no, that was the posting period. Close the December posting period. Before you move on from this, go into your file archives, calendar you're in, and you should see these reports. You might see a couple of them. It just means it's still running. That's, you might see none, you might see one, you might see 4 out of 5, or 6 or how many's here. Just wait till you see absolutely every one before you really start moving on, because if there's an issue, we need to fix it for you before you move on. Okay. And that's it for your checklist. Here is your important dates, when things are due, filing deadlines. There's some links for follow-ups, like if the RETA rate for a city that you withhold on, that type of thing. And then if you have to update any deductions using mass chain or mouse flows, you might want to do that before you start your first January pay. And that's it. So is there any questions that I can try to answer for you about it? And it could be about mainly this, but if you have something else, that's fine.
Can I check them?
Did you have one? Or you just?
No, no strikes.
I'm trying to figure out, oh gosh, what am I doing? I know exactly how you feel. So if there's no questions, it's 10:36. We'll take a 15-minute break. How about like 10:50? And then we will start on you sound close out. Sound good, everybody? All right.
Okay. We're gonna start on the USAS side. Real quick, I do things a little bit differently than Melissa does. I have 2 books. One is just a checklist. So if you've been through this 100 times and you don't need additional screenshots or whatnot, you can just go through the checklist. If you are a little bit newer and you want to see the screens and what to expect when you get to that point, you can view them on the PowerPoint. I suggest doing the checklist, but if you need to reference the PowerPoint, the checklist has the page number to go to on the PowerPoint, so you're not flipping through page after page. For today, we are going to go through the PowerPoint because it has a little more detail. But before we get started, I'm going to say this now, and then I'm going to say this again at the end because it is important. One big change on the USAF side is for submitting 1099s to the IRS, there is a change. Normally you submit them to the fire system. Okay. The fire system is going to be going away after this year. So there's going to be a new system and it's going to be called IRIS. When you use the fire system, it asks for a TCC number that you all have. That TCC number is going to go away when the fire system goes away. So you have to apply for a new number in the IRS system to submit your 1099s for next year. I'm telling you this now so that you can apply sooner than later to get the new information. The 2 TCC numbers are not interchangeable. So when you submit your 1099s this year, you'll do it in the fire system and you'll use the TCC number you have. Next year, when you submit your 1099s, you're going to need the new TCC number and you're going to submit that in the IRS system. The information's in the back of this PowerPoint with links to where you can go to create the account and apply for the TCC number. So I'm telling you now, so you'll have a whole entire year to get that new number. Okay, and they're not interchangeable. So you can't use the entire TCC number next year. It will not work. All right, I'll say that again at the end when we get to that section in the power. I have a training account because as we go through the PowerPoint, I'm going to show you some screenshots just so you can have some visuals, especially for those who are new. If we start out on page 2 of the PowerPoint, we want to make sure that you have the right setting in your configuration. So if you go to system configuration, and then you go to IRS form 1099, well, that it helps if I stay logged in, huh? System configuration. Then you're going to go to IRS form 1099. And you're going to want to make sure you click on page 3, PowerPoint, where you have this box checked. There's your TCC code. That is going to be the one you'll use this year for your fire system. Run through, make sure all the information is correct on there. If you scroll down, you will see that you can truncate the EIN or the SSN. So it's just showing the last 4 digits if you want to do that on your paper copies. And there's also approved for combined federal and state filing. What that means is if you've already submitted your 1099s in the past, you've been approved. All your information has been submitted and correct. If you're a new district and you've never done that before, you would have to do a test file. Once you do the test file, they send you a letter, tell you're approved, and you can move on. All of you should already be approved. You've all submitted your 1099s in the past, so that box would be checked. Next year with the IR system, I don't know what it's gonna look. I guess we'll get there when we get there. Okay, so that's what we went through on pages all the way through till page 4. If that box has already been checked and all this information is in here, it should still be there. It should still carry over from last year. But I do suggest you go in and just verify that it is there and all. Okay. On page 5, there's an optional TIN matching program. Like Melissa said, you can do that Social Security verification. You can do the same thing for your 1099s. And there is the website at the bottom of page 5 in the PowerPoint on where you can go to the IRS to apply to go ahead and take the information that you have for your vendors to see if they have given you the proper EIN or SS. It is optional. You don't have to do it. On page 6, there's also a setting to warn you when you add a vendor if you have not entered their EIN or SS. So that would be under system configuration, same place we were. And then you would go to vendor tax ID. Configuration. And that's where you can set to warn you if you add a new vendor if you have not added their EIN or SSN. Because you don't want to get to the end of the year and get ready to run your 1099 and you can't because you're waiting on a vendor to provide you the information. Personally, when I did budgetary, they didn't get a check till they gave me the information I need. That was my hold on them so that I didn't fall into this situation. However, sometimes it does slip through. So this is a way to catch that if you want to set that configuration. Optional, totally optional.
Is that only the treasurer that can do
Yes.
that?
Yes. Okay. Page 7, we're gonna talk about things you can do now, looking at your vendors to make sure everything's in order for you to print your 1099. You can do this stuff now, so when it comes time to close out, you're not verifying all this information last minute when things are crazy and you wanna get home first. So on page 7, some of the things you wanna look at is the 1099 location. You wanna make sure you have an address form. Where are you gonna mail it if you don't have the address entered? You wanna make sure you have a social security number or EIN. You wanna make sure you have the vendor ID. If you do not have a social security or EIN number or the vendor ID, it will not print a 1099. Your vendor file will fail. So these pieces of information are critical that you have. So we're gonna go to take a look at it. Before we do, at the bottom of page 7, there's 2 types we all know of 1099s, NECs and miscellaneous. You might want to verify again with your attorneys which type they need, because depending on the service they provide to you, they could get an NEC or they could get a miscellaneous. So if you're unsure, contact them, ask them that you're providing them with the correct thing. So let's go to page 8, and we're gonna take a look how you can review the vendors that qualify for 1099. So if you go to core and vendors, you want to use the more button to add the columns you need so that you can verify the information. So if you look on page 8, what you want to add is the type 1099, the tax ID type, the ID number, the address, the year-to-date taxable total. I also have active up there, because if you put active as true, you're only looking at the vendors that you're currently using, then you don't have a whole bunch more on your report that you have to go to. Okay? So if you go to the type 1099 and you type in greater than, less than, non 1099. The screen will appear and you can go down, you can make a report, or you can run down through the grid to make sure this column has something in it, this column has something in it. These 2 columns are the columns that will cause your file to bomb if you don't have information. Is it a social security number or is it an EIN?
That's her 10.
That's my text. And ID, address, then you can go over here to the year-to-date column to see what the year-to-date is. Now, what you can do is that right there, that tells you all of the people that have $600 or more. So you want to verify that you have all the information correct. Okay? So now we're going to do something a little different. We're going to go to type in, you can do this. You can look at your attorney. You can type in the type and it'll pull up all the information and you can go from there. You can also go to core vendors and look at the vendors that make more than $600 but are not getting it. And this is where I'm going to stop you. On page 10, I had an error. At the very bottom of the page, it says non-1099. Take out the hyphen. You just want to say non-1099. Okay? Just want to stick that in there instead of the hyphen. Then you can do the same thing again. You can go through these people who are not going to get 1099, but making the $600. Verify that those are correct. Okay? It was changed. So that's the way you can verify this information. You can make a report from those groups, but you can also go to report report manager. And you can scroll down to SSDT 1099. Vendor report. Okay, you can run that report. That's gonna tell you all of your vendors that are gonna get a 1099. You can compare that report to the very first grid we looked on, make sure all those numbers match. Okay? And those are things you can do now to make sure everything's in order. If you need to do a vendor adjustment, when you go to for vendors, let's talk about that for a second. If you need to do a vendor adjustment, if something's wrong on the totals that are gonna appear on the 1099, what you do is you click on the eyeball. Okay, and you click on the eyeball, you click on vendor adjustment, and you click create. All right, there you would put in the amount you want to increase or decrease to appear on your 1099. On page 13, we want to say that the transaction date here needs to be a December date. Okay, you want to make sure you do that any date you want in December. This amount can be a positive or a negative, depending on if you need to increase or decrease that dollar amount that you're putting on the 1099. And you want to make sure the taxable box is checked. So now we're going to move on to closing out. Page 14 is where we're at. First of all, you want to make sure you enter all your transactions for December. You want to try and reconcile with your bank. I'm not sure how many of you use periodic cash reconciliation within the redesign system. A lot of people use their own spreadsheets. That's fine. The only time this really is required to be filled out is in June. Because that then information is extracted out and loaded into the data collector for your financials. I personally like using that within the redesign system. It's really simple. But again, if you do a spreadsheet throughout the year, right now is not required. You'll also want to run your cash summary and the financial detail report. Compare the totals. When you run the financial detail report, you want to do month to date totals. And you'll compare that to your cash summary to make sure they match. That is all under the reports, report manager. Right. If all that balances, then you can move on. You can proceed on to, if anybody runs the spending plan summary. For the old schoolers, that's the SM12. Does anybody still run that? Yes? We had a couple, no, we had a couple people, the other group did, but some don't too. That would be the time to run that. Once you do that, you can run any monthly reports that you normally run. Okay? When you close the month of the year, the bundles are going to run for you and put them out in file log. But you may run some additional monthly reports on your own that you want to save. That would be the time to do that. So when you close, if you look at page 16, those are all the month-end reports that are going to run and appear in your file archives for you. That's the way, this list is a way you can go out there and make sure everything is appeared before you close. Page 17, calendar year-end reports. There may be additional calendar year-end reports you run above and beyond what runs for you when you close them. So you could run those now. But these are the ones that will appear in your file archives when you close for the year. Page 18, the proration utility. Does anybody use this for workers' comp? Do you? Good. We had a request in the last Friday meeting I guess when you run the spreadsheet to convert into the purchase order, it doesn't combine the budget lines still. If you have 5 people getting paid out of a certain budget line, it lists that budget line 5 times and just, instead of just putting one line in the grand total amount. So we had 3 people last week ask for an enhancement for that to be combined. Because when they do their spreadsheet and then their purchase order, it's multiple pages, where it could be much shorter if it was combined. If anybody finds that to be irritating and would like an enhancement, let us know.
Very easy fix to that.
Yes,
Just give it to Grok or whatever AI you're using and have it consolidate for you.
you give it to AI.
I do.
There you go. In the meantime, till they get this enhancement request in place, you can use AI. Very good. Thank you. Anybody else use AI in here? I do a little. I didn't realize you could do that.
Oh, yeah, and if it's pulling grant accounts too, you can tell it's all wording your prompt, have it consolidate all your grants down to the matching general fund. And tell it to create into a CSV. And just upload it.
There's a way around until the enhancement gets put. But if you would like to see that enhancement, please let us know. The more people that suggest it, the faster it is done. Anyway, if you don't use the proration utility, and you want instructions on how, the next few pages will provide you with the instructions. And on page 20, there is a YouTube video that you can go and view and watch how you process. Okay, page 21. Now we're going to start into the 1099. So if you go to periodic and you want to run the 1099 extract. Now, here is the catch. One's a little catch, which probably should not trip you up. 2025 year is only going to appear if you have December. Okay, if you have a December posting period, great. I can't see anybody going to run their 1099s and not having December created. So I really don't think that should trip anyone up. Okay, I guess if you wanted to run your 1099s and view them in November, maybe that's why they're saying this. You have to have December created, but you want to make sure 2025 is there. When you run the IRS format, there is no problem with the IRS format. You can check both these boxes. The IRS format, and then you hit generate. It is going to create a file that you will load to the IRS, and it will contain both the NECs and the miscellaneous. And your file name will say both in it. But when you go to run any of these other options, you have to check one, run the option, then uncheck that, check the other one, and run the option. It will not run both on any other option other than the IRS. So we're going to jump on to page 22. We talked about the 2025. We're going to talk about these options real quick. The IRS format is going to be the one that you loaded to the fire system this year. The XML format would be if you use a third party to print your 1099s. SCU is a third party vendor that will print your 1099s for you. So if you need a print file for a third party, that would be the option that you choose. Reference copies. There's a bunch of reference copies that can be used. And on page 22, each one of them is explained. Copy 1, state, copy 2, recipient, copy A, IRS. These will go to your file archives if you generate. You don't need to print them or do anything else. Just generate them. Once they're generated, when you close, they'll appear in the file archives for you. And then you have them if you need them later. The last is printer sealer copies. If you're going to print your own 1099s, you choose that option. It will print right to your printer. Again, you can print them on paper and provide the back, just like the W-2s. I'm not buying forms anymore. If somebody wants a paper copy of the W-2s, they're just getting it on paper with the instructions on the back. My vendors are not getting a 1099 form. They're getting it on paper and including a second sheet with the instructions. I'm not going to buy forms anymore because you have to buy them in bulk and we have so little, it's not worth it for me. As long as you provide them with the information that they need, it doesn't have to be on an official form. Then you'll go down and do all your other selections. Include vendors with no tax, or exclude vendors with no tax ID. I would not run this including vendors with no tax ID because it's worthless. There's not the right information on. So, and besides that, you've already checked it in the beginning, right? So there shouldn't be any. You want to go down and verify that all your information is correct. You're not doing a prior year submission. We talked about the approved, combined filing for federal and state. You've already done that once. So you are in that program. You're doing an original. You're not doing a test because you've already done this once before. You have to do a 1099 corrected 1099. This is where you would go to pick. And you see there's two types. We'll talk about that at the end. Then you have the option to print the report or actually generate the IRS file, the copy to send to your printer, whatever the case may be. So in talking in all this, we went all the way through to page 26. Once you have that all done, you can close for December. So you're going to go to the core posting period. And what you're going to do is you're going to close December. When you do that, all the monthly and calendar year-end reports are going to run in the background. You want to wait. Do not make January current. If January is already open because you're doing future purchase orders, that's fine. But don't make January current so these reports are complete. And it's going to take a little more time than normal because there's so many more reports that are running at calendar year end. They can be found under Utilities File Archive. If you want to see as they're running, and I believe only the treasurer can do this, you can go to Utilities Job Schedule. When you do that, you will see the reports running over here. They'll say monthly and yearly. And in this column right here, it will say running. You can refresh this page until you see it say complete. Once they say complete, you know you can make January current. If the treasurer's not there and you want to make sure, you can use those list of reports that I provided for you and go into your utilities file archives and make sure you see them all listed. Once they're complete, you can make January current. And we have on the bottom of page 27 a reminder that you might want to check pending transactions because payroll probably already ran a January pay. So they may have pushed it over to pending transactions in USAS that you can post. That's just a little reminder to check your pending transactions for a payroll that would be. Page 28 is if you need to do a test file, which we talked about. That's the submission type, which none of you should need to do because you've already submitted before. But we got included it in here just in case. Page 29 has the information for the test file and the availability of the fire system for when you can submit your 1099. Those are links. Page 30 is the filing dates. You have till February 2nd instead of January 31st because January 31st is a weekend. So you have till February 2nd. You can see that the NECs are due by February 2nd. But the miscellaneous are for the IRS are not due till March 31st. I'm not sure why you would wait, submit one, but then wait to submit the other. I would forget. So just submit, I would submit everything all at the same time so that you don't miss. Page 31, here are all the links for the IRS system. Where you can go to apply to get that TCC number we talked about first thing. I would do that as soon as possible because everybody is going to be doing it. So they're gonna be bombarded and it's probably gonna take some time to get your TCC number. So apply for it now and forget about it. And by December, you'll have it and you won't be worried. On page 33. This is cool. This is all the links for if you have to do a 1099 correction. Hopefully, none of us are going to have to worry about that. That continues on to page 34. And I'm not going to cover the correction. If somebody needs to do one, let us know. We'll help. But one thing I do want to mention is, and it's on page 35. If you have to make a 1099 correction, it depends on what's wrong on the 1099, on how many corrections you have to do. So if you send us an email and say, I need to do a 1099 correction, we're going to get back to you and we're going to say what was wrong on the 1099. So let us know what happened, because if it was incorrect money, you only have to do one 1099 correction, one 1099. If you had a wrong social security number or an EIN, you have to do two 1099s to correct that issue. Okay, so depending on what the problem is, on how many 1099 corrections you have to process. Again, I'm not gonna go over all that because none of us are gonna have that, right? Right. I also have additional resources in our knowledge book. Melissa showed everybody where the knowledge book information was at. Of course. I'm not gonna be able to do it. Let me see what it's like. There we go. If you hover over support, we'll go over it one more time. If you hover over support, knowledge book, again, mine's going to have some more additional information that yours won't have. Oh, that's not what I want. Let's go. There we go. Fiscal redesign. Scroll down. You will see December 2025. Under topic 4. There's all kinds of payroll links and all kinds of budgetary links if you need additional reference. We also have videos. Did you mention that?
No,
You did not mention that?
it's your
Okay.
turn.
If you, believe it or not, we still have some videos with Adam's nice deep voice in them.
This should probably be up.
It hasn't changed. No, if you go to the OME-RESA homepage, there's 2 ways to get to it. Video. You can search by category. And if you pick fiscal, there's a bunch of videos. I'll give you an example. This is a budgetary one. You need to increment your years of experience. You're not sure how. Quick video, 2 minutes, 3 minutes maybe, so you can see the screens clicking through. Okay, or you can hover over support, go down to PD by district position. Scroll down to treasurer. And then there's a whole bunch of videos there too. On page 36 is our holiday schedule again. We are closed Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, the day after Christmas, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So my suggestion would be do all of your paperwork on those days. Do the stuff in the system when we're here and do your paperwork on those days. Okay? Any questions? What are we gonna do when we get back? Apply for the new TCC.
Any questions?
No questions?
Don't you come on into me at the.
Have a good holiday.